All right, well, here we are, day 2, Sunday morning. The flags were moving just a little bit a few minutes ago. You can kind of see down near the 200-yard line, a little bit of flag movement. Got about a 2 to 3 mile an hour flag movement all the way at the target boards, which I know is hard to see here. And so definitely a little more movement than we had yesterday morning. It's also about 15 degrees colder. We started about 50, 55 degrees yesterday. It's about 40 right now. Or actually a little bit under 40, so definitely colder. Keeping the ammo in the truck right now, and we'll probably head up to the 800-yard line in maybe, I don't know, 15-20 minutes, and we'll get started. So I'll try to give a little more commentary today, let you guys know a little bit more what I'm thinking and how I'm kind of approaching each line, and we'll go from there. Okay, 800-yard line. Flags have actually calmed down quite a bit since we got here. Still a little bit of movement back at the target boards. And it's warmed up about 10 degrees, so it's been about 45 minutes at this point. So see what happens. Really well, really calm conditions. I broke out my number 1 gun. Yesterday was shot on my number 2 gun. And I thought, well, given, the problems I had, I would see how my number 1 gun was doing, and definitely better. I mean, this is a great looking group, really good score. I'm happy with that. Given the conditions, I guess I would have liked to seen a higher X count, but the fact that it was clean was a really big relief for me. Now, being analytical about it at this point, I can definitely tell you that see how all these shots are grouped over on the right side. So here's kind of the midline of the X and 10 ring, and everything is over here on this side. And really what I should have done, as you see shots 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, they're all over here on this side of the target. And I should have probably hedged a little bit more to the left than I was holding. I was holding right about here on the left X ring. And if I had come over just a little bit more, 7 would have pulled over here, but then 3, 5, and 6, would have been more over here. 13 would have come over, 4 might have even come into the X ring. Centering up this group would have bought me a few more X's. And, obviously that's easy to say in retrospect. And, in the heat of the moment and shooting, I was very comfortable with where I was shooting, and that I was, shooting a lot of 10s. And I given what happened yesterday, I was actually pretty happy with it. So, but doesn't mean we can't go back and try to improve for next time. So there's what happened at 800. Let's go see about 9. All right, we just finished the 800, and you can still see there's some guys cleaning up there. And we're gonna start shooting the 900 here in a minute. Conditions really haven't changed much. We're actually moving through pretty fast today. It's single relay. That's a pretty big advantage when it comes to changing wind conditions, because you're not waiting a long time before you have to shoot. So, 800 went great. All we can do is try at 9 and see what happens. Another good group, a good score, dropped 1 right out up here at 13. So, let's look at the rest of the shots here, though. Really good water line, nice and tight, half-minute water line. I was really happy with it. And you can see here, I consciously tried to pull this group over, and you can see that it's centered up much better. Now, obviously, I had, 1 that was close over here, and 6 got a little close over here. This is during a condition change, and you can see that what I was holding for 5 was clearly not the same as 6 over here. So, something changed. I changed my hold to account for this, and was able to, sort of ricochet it, boomerang it, whatever you want to call it, over to this side. It's still a little dangerous, but then I centered it back up with 7, then 8, then 9, then 10, and 11. So it definitely felt a lot better after that. So in some respects, I got lucky with 5 and 6, but at least after 5, I was able to make a good correction and keep it in the 10. Otherwise, that could have been a pretty treacherous shot right there. Only because I've seen, obviously, the rest of my scores that you guys are going to see in a minute. This number 2 and 13 shot, I'm not totally convinced that I'm not causing that. As I looked at the rest of my targets from today and near the end of shooting, I actually shot some ciders for fun after the match, and I was able to mostly reproduce this, and it turns out it was through body positioning. Somehow I have been slowly manipulating my body position, and the stock was catching my shoulder too soon, and I was bumping these high on occasion. So when you see the next 1,000-yard targets, they're not pretty, but you'll see there are some high ones in there. And again, the fact that I was able to sort of reproduce this effect at least makes me feel a little better that some of what occurred yesterday was body position. I know it was still out of tune, but some of the errant high flyers were definitely body position. So let's go look at 1,000. Okay, well, we're back here at the 1,000. 900 went pretty well. A little bit of movement in the Mirage. There was one switch, missed it, got pushed up out of the right. But you can see the flags are picking up a little bit, but still nothing. I mean, it's, when I say they're picking up, it's picking up from nothing. But as is tradition at this range, the flags really are pretty erratic with each other. It's not often you see all of them agree. And, oftentimes they'll kind of spread their legs here where you've got flags going left out, kind of out the left, and then these flags are going kind of out the right, and it's a mixed bag. So Mirage is really critical at this range, but that's also why it's such a great learning range, especially when you go to shoot at places like Ben Avery and Raton and even Rattlesnake. So love shooting here. We got 1,000-yard coming up, and we'll see how we do. Get pretty ugly. I'm not gonna lie, this was a real punch in the gut after shooting 800, 900 as well as I did. Lots of vertical. I mean, just really an ugly looking string. And again, we're dealing with two ciders. It's not an unlimited cider situation. It was a gun that I shot great at 800, shot great at 900. I felt like I had a good two ciders to work off of. You can see cider 1 and then cider 2. The wind was picking up a little bit, and I made an adjustment on my hold over here after the second cider, and I felt like my elevation was solid, and then boom, out dropped a 1, or the low 9 here on shot number 1. So I came back in correctly with 2 and 3, then 4 and 5 and stuff like that. 10 obviously went high, and then we had some go out here. It's just a bit of a mess, and it's embarrassing to show, and I'd certainly love to show you guys a much better 1,000-yard target, but this is the realities of shooting a match, and sometimes things just go sideways, and unfortunately when they do, it tends to kind of carry through the entire match. So I think the two guys next to me that were shooting that I saw both dropped, I want to say three or 4, and then I dropped 6. So substantially more shots than the two guys that were next to me. So that's just the way it is. So let's go see what the next 1,000 does. All right, well, getting ready for the last relay of the match. This is the 20-round 1,000-yard. Last relay did not go well. Not sure what happened. People left and right of me were not having the same issues, so just one of those things where I gave it all up. So we'll keep working, and we'll see how this next 200 relay goes. Conditions look about the same, so we'll see what happens. Final target is one ugly example. This was just a mess again. It was getting a little switchy. Just as a comparison before we start looking, I dropped 10. Guy to my right dropped 10. Guy to my left dropped 8. So, we were all kind of stuck in the same condition. It obviously wasn't pretty for any of us. But, here's the part that hurts. See this lovely cluster down here? This was totally preventable had I really been being a little more courageous, let's call it. 9, here's 5, then 6, and then I, came over here and overcorrected on 7, then came back to 8, and then 9, 10, 11, 12 just got away from me. So I was holding, you can't even see it, but I was holding all the way up on the 8-ring high when after 9. So I was midline, right about here, but all the way over on about the 9.5 ring. When I shot that 9, I went out to the basically what we would call 4 lines out. So this is 1 line, then 2 lines, and the 9 ring is 3, and then the 8 ring is 4. So I was 4 lines out, and I started to hold high. That brought it to here. I thought, okay, it's picking up even more than I'm seeing. So I held even further out and a little higher up, which brought it into 11. I went out a little bit more and hit 12. So, this is rough. I should have seen this. I should have made a better correction on 10, which would have saved me some points on 11 and 12, if nothing else. And, that in itself hurt because I watched it happen, and then 13 is right over here. You can't see it real easily because it's buried, but it's right over here. So I thought I had made corrections and came back in where it needed to be, and then boom, 15 came right back out here, or 14 did. 15 I corrected back in, then back to 17. So, this whole area right here is about the size of the X ring, right? And if you think about, again, being a little more courageous with my holds, had I started out, instead of being a little weak on my hold on 10, 11, I would have started buying in over here with some, a little bit more courageous calls. And this whole group right here would have moved into this 10 and X ring area and given me a little more real estate to work with. So, just a lot of unnecessary points dropped right here. I can live with some of these misses out here on, 4 pulled in on a 10, but 7 was a 9, and then, 13 came in as a 10. So really, if you look at it, all of my dropped points were down here except for 7. And, that hurts. It's hard to look at this and say, what was I thinking? But again, when you're in the middle of it, and as far out as I was holding, I was out on the 8 ring and I was holding a high 8 ring. It gets scary out there. You're a long way from home. And if you miss a switch when you're holding a high 8, you're inviting disaster with a 6 or a 7 if that switch is on you and you don't catch it. So, it's really easy to look at this again and say, well, dummy, you should have gone another, half line over, another, quarter minute up or so, maybe half minute up, and maybe that would have brought your group back into center. Again, armchair quarterback, it's easy to look at it and say that, but the bottom line, at the end of the day, I ended up second. I lost to my buddy Jason, who is a phenomenal shooter and truly deserved to win today. He struggled in some of the same conditions I did, but was definitely able to hold it together better and made some better calls, and definitely held his center a lot better than I did. So, he deserved it. I came in second. I lost by 5 points. And it's hard. After 8 and 9, I had actually gained back 3 points. I was only 2 points. I was only down 1 point at that point, and then to give it all up on the 1,000 like I did. It's disappointing, and it makes for a hard day. I have no problem losing. It's part of the game, but it's hard when you lose and made bad decisions. And it really causes you to look inside and say, okay, how do I fix this for next time? How do I improve? And that's all I can do. So we'll take this information, we'll do our best with it for nationals, and see how it goes. See you guys later.